I'm sorry, who are you?
Gemma, I love you. I said.
Oh, no, I love you too. What?
What's going on, guys? This is Underground Audience Secrets. Welcome back. And today we're going to be deep diving into Gemma. And is she working with Lumon? Did Lumon recruit Gemma beforehand? We're going to jump into all of that on today's video. One of the things that I didn't see a whole lot of people talk about is that at the beginning of episode 7, we actually see Gemma walking through to what looks like a blood drive. Now, we know that Lumon actually sponsored that blood drive because we can see that in the actual episode. But it's kind of interesting that she just happens to walk up on Mark as he's giving blood, and Mark strikes up a conversation, and they hit it off. But it kind of does beg the question, was Gemma involved even before Mark met her? Was Mark a mark for Lumon? Was she aware of Lumon at that particular time? So that was a question I had to really ask myself, because we have to look at everything from an objective point of view. I know we watched a lot of movies or TV shows that involve sleeper agents. Now, a sleeper agent is just another way of saying a spy who infiltrates a country or an organization, or they live undercover for a long, long period of time. Now, sleeper agents have been used historically for in real life for years. Now, what we can see sometimes is that sleeper agents may actually fall for their mark. So if they're placed in another country and they're supposed to marry someone or be in a relationship with someone, that may all be on paper and the mission, but it's possible they could fall for their mark. So if you think about that, you kind of have to ask yourself, was Gemma already supposed to meet Mark for whatever reason? We don't know why Mark is so special to Lumon yet. I think we'll find that out by the end of the season. We don't know yet, but it just kind of begs the question, was she supposed to hook up with Mark even that far back? Just a theory to think about if you kind of think about how convenient it was that they met and that they're both professors, they're both interested in the same things, and just happened to be there that day at that time. So that's a theory that you just may want to kind of consider. Now, one of the things we have to wrestle with is, we know Gemma is on the testing floor, but that we can see, there is not any real residual effects of a crash, of a car crash. It doesn't, we don't see any scars. We don't see any evidence that she was in a really bad crash. So was this crash completely fabricated by Lumon and she was abducted? Or did she willingly sign herself away for some experiment that Lumon actually has going on that she signed off on? Now, we see that she was distraught a lot of the episode due to the miscarriage. She had some disagreements with Mark, and it just looks like she had overall frustration with the whole fertility process. So was she desperate enough to sign up for a secret experiment for Lumon for the promise of them guaranteeing that she'll be fertile and be able to give birth? Now, throughout the episode, we can see that Lumon is very, very active in their lives. So we can see that Lumon's following them to the fertility clinic. We see Dr. Morrow in the fertility clinic. We also see that Lumon's a part of the paperwork on the fertility clinic. But we also can see that everything that Lumon has been doing during that period of time where her and Mark were together is integrated in every part of their life. We see that subtly in scenes of episodes. And the flashcards, when her and Mark talk about the Chikai Bardo flashcards, they kind of have a disagreement. He thinks they're kind of stupid, but you can see she kind of thinks they have meaning, and she actually cared about those cards. Now, Mark kind of is very dismissive of that. She seems to be taking them more seriously, and we don't know what she does beyond that conversation with the cards or what other things they sent in the mail to her to entice her to become a part of this experiment on the testing floor. And the thing, we don't see anything in Gemma's character that would make us believe that she would stage to fake her own death in order to be a part of this experiment. So that's where we kind of have a gap in logic. Now we have to figure. Now maybe was she abducted and Lumen just put together a car crash scene and got someone at the morgue to do a cremation and just kind of sold that image and experience to Mark as what happened to her because she was missing. But we don't know that Gemma agreed to that. So that's the part that we're missing. Now, here's another theory that I have. If she was not a part of staging her own death, then we have to ask ourselves, where was Gemma going when she told Mark she'd be back at 10 p.m.? Who all was there? Who was a part of this charades game? Because what I'm thinking is someone in Mark and Gemma's life may have what we call lined her up or set her up to be abducted by Lumen. Because I don't believe that this is something that Gemma would voluntarily do, because I don't think she'd voluntarily put Mark through that type of trauma of pretending to be dead. So if we kind of revert back to that scene with Mark and Rickon and Devin and Gemma, is it Rickon? I think Devin is bit of a stretch, but is anyone in their immediate friend group or circle actually have ties to Lumen that would set her up to be a part of this experiment uh, in order for them to gain whatever they have to gain? Now, if I was a betting man, I would bet Rick and Hale did it because he'd think, hey, this is for, the greater good, the means justifies the ends type deal. But we don't know that. We don't know who was at this event. All we know is she says goodbye. She's going to an event, and next thing we know, she's on the seventh floor for what's been, I guess, at least 6 weeks. But we don't know exactly how long she's been down there. But it's been quite a while. After having wrestled with these theories for a little bit, the one that seems to make the most logical sense is that Gemma was a sleeper agent for Luma. She's affiliated in some way. Maybe she's not a direct employee, or maybe she's a spy or a plant. I mean, you remember she says, I said I like plants, not ants. In this show, I don't think people say things just to say them. I think almost everything is a clue or foreshadow. So if she says she likes plants, maybe she is a plant. But again, maybe she never planned on having the feelings towards Mark that she has towards Mark. And if that's the case, it means that she was placed in Mark's life for whatever reason. Again, we don't know why Mark Scout is so significant to Lumen, or why he's able to uh, get these files done or Cold Harbor done when nobody else seemingly can. We don't know that yet. But we know she does at this point at least genuinely care for him. We don't see any signs of her wanting to leave when the last time she speaks to Mark. On the outside, it kind of seems like she doesn't want to leave. Maybe because she says, I love you twice, or if she wants him to say it back. Maybe if she is a sleeper agent, she knows, like, I have to go do this, so I want to hear that from you. But it doesn't give off any vibes of her wanting to leave. And maybe she didn't want to leave, and Lumen, caught up with her and said, "Hey, we got to do this now. The jig is up. You can't keep playing house with Mark." So this is a thing. There's just so much emphasis on Mark being the only one to complete Cold Harbor. It seems to be something significant with him that they needed a woman to come in his life in order to complete this project. Now we're missing bits and pieces of the story, so there's a little logic that's left out. So this is just something to think about, because I don't think anybody's even floating the idea of Gemma not being 100% good in this TV series. Now we know Severance has a very cult-like, experience, and one of the things cults do is prey on people, when they're at their most vulnerable. So this could be a situation where they see Gemma is vulnerable and they're wanting to take advantage and using her for their Cold Harbor project. So they promise her, the one thing that she's unable to get at that particular time. And she also, we see she has some issues with Mark, and she may have just made the decision that, hey, I'll sign up for this, and